Mercury, Hermes to me, messenger of God Almighty.
What need have we of a flitting, flickering breeze of a girlish boy to attend and deliver those messages, too rich and ephemeral for mortal ears to hear?
That's just it. The flit, flit, flit of one whose work will never be quit. For the tongues change as the days change, so too the tools and the spools of yarn to tie a bow around a fable. Let us be able, the mind must be watched. For what is Mercury if not mind? How do you think? What mechanics run your mental miasma? What mind-forged manacles hold our new century in shackles? Flit, flit. It is oh so quick. Mercurius, he or she, the androgyne, darts to and fro. It sets the nerves on edge. It is our very nervous system incarnate. The brave little one, dancing so close to our father's sun, never straying too far. Give, 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 take, 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 the lord of copper and all coinage, tithing and conniving, the neutrality tinged with hue of fiendy foes, or the mellow genius. Marvellous gift the mind is, to discern, interpret, calculate, litigate and placate. And then those glamorous fools who use it for music and perceiving the divine, who gift it back as sweetly as songbirds, who are piecing it all together through lyric and strong words, tricky trap of universal hilarity, mirroring, gleeful, the pitfalls of humanity, human errors, as we stumble and learn, taking turns to be humble and bumble through digital dilemmas of the soul, tracking this route towards whole, as the heart yearns, Mercury unfurling life as a fern, seeing patterns, pretty patterns, lighting lanterns as it flits through the details loosely harnessed, and on course this worthy servant wants no more nor less than to play, investigate, and convey. Come with me and serve yourself heartily.
Hello, welcome back to the Ineffableelse. Welcome if you are new here. Today we're going to be talking about the penultimate sign in our series about Mercury, which is Aquarius. So this will apply to you if you have Mercury in Aquarius, also if you have Mercury in the 11th house, or Mercury conjunct with Uranus. So check if you have any of these placements within your chart, and also just check if you've clicked on this because your Mercury is in Aquarius, also check which house it's in and then find the accompanying video, because your Mercury will feel like a sort of combination of both. I also have an introductory video about Mercury which gives a good base to explore from, gives you a good foundation, and then you see how it then gets distorted and coloured by the different signs that it's in. And here we are in Aquarius, and I'm here. I've just had my second shower of the day because it's very hot, and I don't care that my hair is wet. I don't care, and neither would you. If you have this mental placement, it's above and beyond anything in the physical, above and beyond caring, above and beyond small concepts of the day. It's above the news, it's above the daily news, that's for sure. Your interest will be in much higher, broader, more transcendental things, and you won't have much time or interest in the mundane. Of course, Mercury is also extremely mundane. It's extremely concerned with very small details and the facts of things and the nitty-gritty. So this can be a nice place for Mercury to expand its horizons, and a nice antidote, perhaps if you are very Aquarian, to maybe focus your attention. The interesting thing though is, although you have very far out perceptions of things, you are able to see the totality and kind of bring it into a coherence, at least for yourself. Maybe others don't quite understand the liturgy, they don't quite understand your vernacular and how you express yourself. This is about expression as well, because Mercury is, of course, Hermes, the god that flits between God and humans, informing them about what's happening. So this is a very, very a large cap, big boots to fill. Who on earth is really humble enough to take on this role of a demigod? Well, not many, but if anyone is qualified, it's going to be the one with Mercury in Aquarius, because you do have access to, if you think of it as being the 11th sign, you've been through all of these different perceptions of the world and the universe, and you're coming towards a conclusion. Not that there is any real conclusion, because it goes on and on in spirals and cycles. There's no such thing as a past and a future and a beginning and an end. There's just the sensation and the appearance of that. And you're very good at tapping into that knowledge. You're not particularly chronological. And although I say you don't care about the mundane, the menial, the day-to-day, nitty-gritty, you will be effortless at these things, because you have that intelligence inherent within. It's a very intelligent sign. This is fixed. In terms of concepts though, do you hold on to your ideas about things? Do you have particular set beliefs that you never really challenge? Do you perhaps berate others for not thinking the way that you do? That can also be an issue with an unevolved Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury in the 11th house is a kind of need to make everybody fit the bill. There's a bit of a communism. I mean, any political viewpoint and way of thinking, scientific discovery, many of these things have come from 11th house placements of needing to share it with the world, and even the creators of Apple technology. But there can also be a side to this that is quite imposing that upon others, and it's important to allow others to have their own opinions, have their own values, and have their own things which they consider important in their lives. Not everyone is going to be interested in the same things as you. So if you have this Mercury placement, as in Mercury in Aquarius, your sun will be in either Capricorn, Aquarius, or Pisces. So if it is in Capricorn, this can be a really interesting way to broaden those limitations and those kind of structural concepts. It really is able to shift and shake the concepts that start to form when you have Capricorn sun. And if it's in Aquarius or Pisces, these are the placements where you're a big dreamer, you're very utopian, very much living in the future, and Mercury can help bring you back to the now, help bring you back to reality, and help to ground you in the day-to-day. And really any utopia you want to create will only be attained by doing the day-to-day tasks. Before enlightenment, you chop wood, you carry water. After enlightenment, you chop wood, you carry water. It's all the same, it's just about different perceptions. But it continues all the same. There isn't this place, there may well be, but maybe not physically on this earth. There's not a place where we go to which is beyond form, beyond time, beyond the body, beyond the need to eat or to stop eating or to observe the physical body. So it can be so much wrapped up in the concepts and a idealized Edenic place to be, which is a fabulous component to have within your consciousness, but it can sometimes forget to do the dishes. So really, I'm speaking more in terms of someone with a Pisces sun, because if you have that Aquarius part of you, everything just seems to get done. There can be self-judgment though, there can be a harsh criticism of yourself and of others. In terms of what you believe and what you want to bring into manifestation, it's Uranian. It's always going to be rebellious, it's always going to be going against the grain, it's always going to feel a little bit out otherworldly, out deep space. And that's really a great thing for us to have that kind of splash of that colour within the human landscape. In astrological terms though, don't allow yourself to be pigeonholed. Don't allow yourself to pigeonhole yourself as being just this Aquarian dreamer, and actually realize that you're here to integrate all 12 of the archetypes and all of their little nuances within your own psyche. You look at me and I have no Taurus in my chart, but I definitely have many Taurian components within me that I need to integrate and I need to accept. And this is something an Aquarius needs to learn, because there's always a slight pat on the back if you're an Aquarius, like, you've done it, you've been there before, you know everything. And it's going to be the case in some areas and not in others. So to learn about humility and learning how to humble yourself, and you can do this because you are very intelligent by learning new skills, by making yourself by humbling yourself, by doing something that is completely new for you and completely you cannot be all-knowing about, because it's so new and fresh for you. And the freshness can be wonderful to keep that buzz and that kind of electricity that Aquarians tend to have. The other thing is, never ever think that you're done. Like I say, learn a new skill, but also deepen anything that you think you know. When you think you're the master of something, bring yourself back to, no, what am I missing here? Because the universe is an infinite place. And video games and things like to get us believing that there is a finality to something, but it's not true. It goes on. And this is the nature of life. It's about learning and growing, and inevitably, I mean, this is why I really like nature documentaries, because they're never going to be the same year on year, because they're always discovering new creatures, they're always discovering new habits, they're always observing new things in the environment, environmental changes, and how different animals and species are adapting. So for me, it's like, oh wow, what's in the new series of Planet Earth, you know? It's very, very curious, and to keep that curiosity really helps you to stop being a know-it-all. And being a know-it-all is not only not nice for other people, it's not nice for yourself, because you end up with a kind of cynical perspective on the world, and you need not have that, because when you have the Uranian element, Uranus is constantly fresh, constantly evolving. There's this idea that we're looking for a revolution, but a revolution is literally just the turning of a circle. We've got that going on all the time. Evolution is that stepping up into a higher plane of existence and tapping into new potentials. And also with Mercury, Aquarius, Uranus, it's extremely mental, extremely conceptual. So how are you bringing that knowledge down within your body? Because your body is the best form of technology that there is. Don't allow yourself to be caught up solely in the world of AI and robots, and come back to yourself and see yourself as this incredible avatar for what you are, and this amazing gift with all of its cables and all of its electromagnetic fields and all of its capacity in memory and within the tissue, within the mind, within the soul, the mechanics of the soul. These are all areas of life that have not been explored fully and have not been tapped into. It's very interesting as well for you to investigate things like sacred geometry and different fractal patterns, and just sit with them and look at them, meditate on them, and things will come to you. You're kind of open in that sense, if you think of the head as being the mercurial factor where we both communicate and receive, and just kind of having that open crown chakra to just receive and not overlay your own concepts and your own things that you've learned before. We need to be very willing to throw away things from the past. And it's the dance between Uranus and Saturn, the father and the son of, and I was singing this song Father and Son the other day, and by Cat Stevens, and I love it because you're really seeing both the perspectives. One is this kind of just slow down, take it easy, relax. There's, you know, no need to rush. There's also a lot of good that came from the past, and I know exactly what you're going through because you are the younger of me. And the son says, no, you don't know what I'm going through. You're from a different generation. I'm here to do my own thing. You need to learn my own lessons. And that is very true in terms of, doesn't matter how wise your guides are, you need to learn things firsthand, especially with an Aquarian perspective and anything Sagittarian. These kind of things have to know it, to feel it, which it can kind of be like, but I know this intellectually, but I need to go out and experience. I need to go out and see it firsthand. I can't just be told something, and this is a wonderful quality, but it doesn't need to be an argument between your Saturn and your Uranus. It's a kind of finding that wonderful tension of opposites where you can really appreciate the past and also not necessarily see that all progress is progress. Sometimes we do just try to write the next plan for the next generation just based on being different from our parents' generation, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to bode well just because we've invented something on the back of an envelope, as they say. It's having that wisdom, that innocence to know that wisdom will come over time, but also that definite wide-eyed ability for spontaneity and just really throwing away every concept. This is it, throwing away concepts from the past, not necessarily habits, not necessarily certain. Like, if you look back, you might say, well, in the past they ate such terrible food, they were either starving, or in the 50s everything was in a can, these kind of things. But you can also look back and say, yeah, but they had fermented cabbage, and they had things, they knew about microbiotics a long time ago. And I went to Stirling Castle, and there they said the water in the well was not good enough to drink, it was toxic. So what did they do? They fermented it until it was 1% alcoholic, and I think they fermented it with some kind of berry, and everyone, man, woman and child, was drinking, and they were entitled to drink about a litre of this a day, because they said a pint, but the pint in the past was not like this, it was much bigger, and people were very happy. And when something is fermented with just that tiny amount of alcohol, I'm sure it's not so toxic. And also, like, things were pretty hard at that moment, so keep your workforce happy, right? So there's all these areas where I'm not sure whether something is progress or regression, or too much tradition, or too much. I look out at the fields of Spain and I think this is undoubtedly beautiful. The harvest, watching the wheat blowing in the wind, and I see the landscape. I love where I live, how far I can see off into the mountains. I have a very, very wide perspective. I can see lots of things. With an Aquarian quality to you, it will be nice for you to get up to high places and see things. And then I'm looking at the wheat, and there's all this intellectual stuff, but wheat is a terrible crop. It's ruining the forests. All of this used to be forest, and they cut it all down just so they could fight the English. The English cut their forests down to make boats so they could fight the Spanish, and it made me get into this kind of knot in my head. And wheat. I don't eat wheat. I don't think that it's good that people are eating these nutrient deficient foods like pasta and bread and stuff. It's just an addictive thing. It's just another form of cocaine, and I've got all this stuff going around there. And I just took a breather and was like, it's still really beautiful though. I really like this. This is gorgeous. And the other element, which is, this is progress. This is one step on the way to God knows where. And is it going backwards? Is it going forwards? I have no idea. It's very difficult to judge from our, perhaps, if we're lucky, 100 years, more or less, perspective on the whole of the history of time as to whether something's actually going to be beneficial or not. This also will come back to that kind of argument about the Queen and the monarchy, and like how terrible and what a oppressive system that was, and how much money the royal family has and the monarchy in general, but then looking at the commoners who are in for 5 years at a time, the prime ministers, and the damage that they do as well, and just kind of finding the higher ground within all of that, and kind of stepping above all of that, and just observing the play of the Maya, just going back and forth. And it's like a Saturnian principle and a Uranian principle consistently colliding and one-upping each other, and you think a swing to the right, a swing to the left, a swing to the right, and it kind of, the world unfurls in this way, and it's a headache, and it pulls your your center off kilter, and it shouldn't do that. It should be something that you can observe from above. This is humans trying to do their thing, and trying to keep each other in line, and inevitably it's really, really difficult. So cultivate your utopia within your own body, within your own soul. Cultivate it so that whatever happens in the outside world, you don't give two shits. You are completely centered within yourself, and you know yourself. And with a mercurial placement like this, you undoubtedly will. So it's very, very interesting how whenever anyone engages with the Aquarius archetype, it just pulls you into discussion. It pulls you into something higher. It pulls you into yes, and it's like hungry academic, just keeping that innocence of the early adulthood, when investigating different concepts and ideas and ideals and diets and people and ways of communicating and solitude and togetherness, and really just finding your feet within that, all through experimentation. It just has to be. So weirdly enough, with this, I ask you to engage with your Saturn placement and see what that's doing, because it's all about keeping these things in harmony. I will leave it there for now. I am going to be exploring Uranus in the future, but it's one hell of a beast to be wrestled with, because it doesn't like that. It's to be used and engaged with and used for specific purpose, and that's what I love about it. So please contact me if you would like a full reading of your birth chart. Go to ineffableelse.com and leave a comment. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks a lot. Bye.